BookTube, welcome back to my channel. Last week was Read-O-Rama Readathon, and I told you what I was going to read for the week, so I thought I would stop in and just let you know how the readathon went for me. The week ended up being a little busier than I had anticipated, so I didn't get to read all the books that I had set aside. As a matter of fact, some of the larger novels that I had intended to read, I just wasn't able to get to them. One of the challenges in Read-O-Rama was to read 7 books. And in my TBR video, which I will link in the description box just in case you didn't watch that video, so I had originally set aside 7, or actually I think I put aside 8 books that I was going to look at during the week. Some of the larger novels, I just wasn't able to get to them, and I even replaced a book because I found something that was a little shorter that made another challenge. So let's talk about that. So Read-O-Rama had 8 challenges. The first challenge was to read 7 books. I didn't think that I was going to be able to read 7 books. I didn't end up reading 7 books. I read 5 books and 3 of them were pretty short books, so I ended up reading about 1,000 pages. Challenge number 2 was to read a book with the letters R-A-M-A in the title. I had originally chosen Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, but I ended up replacing that book with The Testament of Mary by Colm Toibin. This was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2013, and if you watch my video where I talked about doing the Man Booker Prize reading challenge, you'll know that this was on my list of books that I wanted to read. So when I found it and I realized that it fit the category, I replaced Americana with this one so that I could read it this week. Challenge number 3 is to read a book with an animal on the cover, and I didn't end up getting to the book that I had chosen for this, which was Ruby, but one of the short books that I read had this little ibis on the cover. I don't know if that satisfies that category. It kind of meets it, right? There's a bird on the cover. Anyway, I'm not going to focus on that. This short book didn't meet any of the challenges except that I had selected it when I was trying to go for 7 books. It is entitled Nevermind, and it's by Taha Muhammad Ali, who's a poet. He writes in Arabic, and so the book is translated by 3 other people. It includes 20 poems and a short story, and I found them to be very interesting, and you can see my bookmarks were some of my favorites, and I'm going to be sharing that when I do a closer book, so be sure to look out for this one. Challenge number 4 is to read a book where one of the main characters has your initial, and I read Best Friends Forever by Kimberly Lawson Roby. She's an African-American author, and I've seen her books everywhere, but I've never read anything by her. That book actually met the challenge of book with a main character who shares your initial. It also met the challenge of read a book with a character who has an illness, whether physical illness or mental illness, because one of the main characters has cancer. For a book with Irish elements, I read I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson. This book didn't really have Irish elements, but the reason I chose this book was when I was reading the synopsis, it said Jandy Nelson, like Noah and Jude, comes from a superstitious lot. She was tutored from a young age in the art of the 4-leaf clover hunt. And I thought, because of the clover, I actually thought the shamrock was a 4-leaf clover. It really isn't, and I did a whole blog post on how the shamrock should be a 3-leafed clover. So that was my pick for challenge number 5. Book with Irish elements. Challenge number 6 was book with a main character who has an illness. I already covered that. I did Best Friends Forever by Kimberly Lawson Roby. Challenge number 7 was to start a new series. I had originally chosen to read The Wrath on the Dawn. I didn't get to that book. I'm going to be reading it in the Borrow-a-thon next week. Challenge number 8 was to read a book blind, and I read Happiness Like Water by Chinelo Okparanta. This was a collection of short stories. They start off in Nigeria following people who are Africans living in Africa. And then at some point, we get to see immigrants, African immigrants, Nigerian immigrants now living in the United States. And some of that is African immigrant experience. So I read a short story collection, a poetry collection, 2 kind of novels, and 1 full-length novel. In 1 week, 5 books. Even though there were more on the short side, I feel like that was a success. So I'm calling Read-O-Rama a win, and I'm ready now to move on to Borrow-a-thon, which actually starts today as well. So I'm not going to spend any more time focusing on Read-O-Rama. So in Borrow-a-thon, I'm going to be reading books that I got from the library. I still haven't kind of set my TBR. Some of the books that I had chosen for the Read-O-Rama and I wasn't able to get to, I'm just going to push them over to Borrow-a-thon. I don't know if I'm going to be doing like the challenges per se, or I'm just going to focus on reading as much as I can to get some of these books out of my house and back into the library where they belong. So that's it for Read-O-Rama. 5 books, about 1,000 pages read in a week. I feel like that's a win. If you also did Read-O-Rama, please let me know in the comments down below how you did, or if you did a video wrap up, please leave me a link down below so I can go and watch your video so I can share the love. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll talk later. Until then, happy reading. Bye.